Florida fired Billy Napier this past Sunday, or within the past couple of days, depending on when you're viewing this. And safe to say, it wasn't a shocker. It wasn't a if, it was a when he was going to get fired, in my opinion. He was very close to being fired last season. He ended up getting fired this season. DJ Lagway only prolonged how far he was going to get fired along down the road. And it really came down to he didn't seem properly prepared for a lot of his games. His past game this week against Mississippi State was indicative of that. On a key play, he sent out 12 guys on the field. Again, you can only play 11. So it was that. Billy Napier's tenure has been just riddled with penalties, poor execution, and overall just a lack of player development, in my opinion. Now, he's brought in a lot of good recruiting classes, but it just hasn't translated onto the field, which means that is a lack of player development, in my opinion, that would happen with the Florida Gators. As you can see here, the Gators under Billy Napier went 6-7, 5-7, 8-5 last year, 7-5 in the regular season, and then 3-4 and 2-2 in conference. It just hasn't been very good, as you can see from this year. If this decides to load, here we go. Um, they lost to USF, they lost to LSU, to Miami, to Texas A&M, and they're not winning. They're not losing and being competitive when they lose. I mean, they were competitive against South Florida, but because that is South Florida and they pulled the upset, their wins are very scattered, and I think that um, the Gators really need to hone in on a better coach. And that's what we're going to discuss right now. Is I have a couple candidates for the Florida Gators coaching staff, in my opinion, that I think would fix all the things that Billy Napier did wrong. And really, if you look back at it, Dan Mullen actually had the X's and O's great. This is just an aside. If you combine Dan Mullen's actual coaching and Billy Napier's recruiting, it would actually be a really good head coach. And so they haven't been able to get it right the past two times, but I think one of these three guys are going to would really spice up the program. And I'm not going to be talking about Lane Kiffin or Nick Saban or any of the other obvious choices for the Gators, but I'm going to be thinking outside the box a little bit here for the Gators. And the number one option for me, I think, is Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch is a Florida alum. He graduated in 1998 with ties to the Gators staff when Spurrier was the head coach. He's an offensive innovator. He succeeded at places that you typically don't succeed. You know, you go back to when he won 10 games at Arizona. You go back to last year where Washington, coming off of going to the national championship game, lost everyone in the portal, including much of their staff. Jedd Fisch came in and immediately made them a competent team in year one, and this year they look even better. Although I think that if he were to stay, next year would be an even better year because another year, well, this is an aside, but another developmental year with Damon Williams Jr., I think would really do him justice and really do him well. But aside from that, I think that Jedd Fisch would come in and really fix a lot of the offensive play calling that Billy Napier failed to do so. Billy Napier was, again, one of the worst play calling head coaches in the country. I mean, you can put a lot of people there. Certainly, you can put some other Florida school head coaches in there, like Miami, Florida State, etc. You guys know what I mean by that, hopefully. And I think that Jedd Fisch would come in and he has a really good scheme and it's worked in multiple places. He's worked with really good quarterbacks, and I think that with the assets that Florida has when it comes to having a stable NIL base, a stable one of the best fan bases in the world, and I think that it's one of just honestly the best places to coach if you want to succeed because they have everything there. They have a great home environment, they have a great stadium, great fan base, and they have a ton of money to spend on athletics. So I think you bring in a guy like Jedd Fisch, who's a great offensive mind, has succeeded at multiple places where you typically wouldn't find success. No slight to Washington or Arizona, but he's really helped those programs out. And I mean, look at where Arizona went after he left. They went downhill. They became a dumpster fire because Jed Fish was that good of a head coach, in my opinion. And I think that he would be one of the better head coaches. Look, he's got ties to Florida. He's got recruiting ties to Florida as well. I think he would be great. Another great option, though Florida fans may disagree with me here on this, would be John Sumrall from Tulane. Tulane, he's done extremely well at Tulane. He is the best group of five coach out there right now. He is, a no nonsense guy. He's going to get down to business, deep SEC connections. He's a Kentucky alum and he coached there as well as Ole Miss. Excuse me. And his culture building down at Tulane really, I think, can help within the team itself can really help this Florida team going forward. As Florida right now is a bit of a train wreck in terms of the locker room, in terms of everywhere else. Throughout the team, not the environment overall, but the team environment seems to be a little off the train rails, so to speak. So I think that John Summerall would be able to come in and really help them out. And I mean, when you talk about player development, John Summerall is taking a bunch of group of five players and they're beating FBS teams on the regular. They smothered Northwestern at the beginning of this year. Off the top of my head that I can remember, I know it's Northwestern. But he has consistently beat Power Four teams, and he is a one heck of a head coach. A lot of his players transfer to big time places. You look at a guy like Makai Hughes, running back, transferred over to Oregon. I know he's redshirting, but he is clearly the best running back on that roster, in my opinion. So I think that he turns out great players. He's a great player development guy. And I think that he would really help with defensive physicality, as that was a big weakness uh, of Billy Napier's in the past, where he's had really hasn't had that many great defenses. Even this year is a so-so defense, and it's the best one he's had, and the most physical one he's had was this year. And this year's defense is only just you know. So I do think that Tulane's head coach John Sumrall would be a great candidate for the Florida job. And then my last candidate for them is Manny Diaz, the head coach at Duke right now. He's way overperformed at Duke, in my opinion. Went 9-4 his first year, well on his way to a similar record this year at Duke. And I think that Manny Diaz, really, he's a great head coach. He's a great defensive mind. DC at Miami and DC at Penn State, both where he had top 10 defenses at both those places, and obviously his Duke defense is one of the top rated ones over these past 2 years as well. I think it's about top 25 last year, and it's around that range this year as well. And I mean, keep in mind we're talking about Duke football here. Duke football is not known for much. Let's be perfectly honest here. They're a basketball school, and Manny Diaz has really transformed them with, 3-star recruits and a couple occasional 4 stars. So think of what Florida's doing on the recruiting trail right now. If he can just keep that up, getting 4 and 5 stars, I mean, he's going to have this team really revved up into the double-digit win category if he's there. Again, he is a really well-minded. He's a really great defensive coordinator, defensive mind when it comes to the defensive play calling. Now, obviously, he would have to fix the offensive side of the ball, but so far his hires at Duke have been really good. And and at Duke, he's had two really good quarterbacks, Darian Mensah this year, and last year was Malik Murphy. And if he comes over to Florida, he'll have DJ Lagway. He'll have guys coming down the pipeline who are going to be really talented quarterbacks who he can rely on to play really well. And he does have a ton of Florida ties, although this would oddly enough be the one thing holding him back, as he is a Florida State alum and he coached obviously at Miami, two rivals of the Gators, which would give you pause because obviously two of the bigger rivals to Florida. But I do think if he ended up at Florida, he would be a really darn good head coach.